Fatiha. Selamun Aleyküm. Euzubillahimineşşeytanirracim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Esselatu vesselamu ala Resulina Muhammed seyyidil evvelin ve ahirin. Meded ya Resulullah leden salatu ashabu Resulullah ve yaşallah fazla asan şafamına da hani meded tarikatuna sohba vel hayru fil cemiyye. Atıyor Resulullah atıyor zekat. Sadakallahu azim. Allah Azze ve Celle bu zekatı emrediyor.
Allah Almighty commands and orders in the Holy Quran to give zakah.
Bu İslam'ın şartlarındandır.
To give zakah is one of the requirements and obligations of Islam.
Zekat vermek yine hatırlattım, herkes bilir de.
Zakah is something everyone knows, but everyone needs to be reminded of again.
Yine hatırlatmak lazım insanın.
It is important to remind people of giving zakah.
Nefsi pintiliğe alışmış.
The ego is inclined and used to being stingy.
Şuh der. Şuh dedi yani aşırı pintilik.
The ego is described as being extremely stingy.
Cimrilik. Nefisler öyledir. Onun için devamlı hatırlatmak lazım.
The ego is extremely stingy and greedy, and therefore it's important to remind of giving zakah.
Nefsine uyup da kötülük yapmasın kendi kendine.
The ego must be reminded, a person must be reminded in order not to follow one's ego, because if one follows one's ego, one oppresses and does harm to himself.
Başkasından daha fazla kendine pintilik, cimrilik o zararı sahibinedir.
By following one's ego and by being stingy, one harms oneself, and one harms oneself even more than harming others.
Sahibinedir. Onun için zekat vermek büyük bir fazilettir.
Therefore, it is a great blessing to give zakah.
Sevaba vesiledir.
And to give zakah is the means to obtain rewards.
Her türlü iyiliğe vesiledir.
And it is the means for all kinds of goodness.
Onu malından kayıp sayma.
And one should not consider giving zakah as a loss from one's wealth.
Malın zekat dedi yani daha fazla olması demektir.
To give zakah means for your wealth to increase.
Verirsen Allah sana daha fazla verir.
As you give, Allah Almighty will give you more.
Vermesen Allah vermez.
If you do not give, Allah Almighty will not give to you.
Ya verse de sen o malın hayrını göremezsin.
And even if Allah Almighty gave to you, you will not see the benefit and the blessing if you do not give zakah.
Çok mal olur. Ve işte benim malım var, nasıl hayır görmem, böyle gene malım var diye şey yapar.
You may be wealthy, but if you do not give zakah, you will not see the benefit or the blessings of that wealth.
O mühim değil. Mühim olan ondan fayda sağlamaktır.
There is no use in being wealthy as long as one cannot benefit from it. What is important is to what extent does your wealth actually in fact benefit you, and to what extent is it a blessing for you?
Bütün malını bir yere koy, bu benimdir de bir şey yapmadan ne faydası var?
What is the use, what is the benefit of having accumulated all that wealth and having put all that wealth aside if you do not benefit from it?
Hiçbir faydası yok.
There's no use in simply accumulating wealth and not benefiting from it.
Onun için zekat Allah'ın hakkı.
To give zakah is the right that belongs to Allah Almighty.
Allah'ın hakkıdır. Fakirlere ayırmış Allah Azze ve Celle.
It is to give zakah is the right of Allah Almighty, and zakah is the allocation that Allah Almighty has dedicated to the poor.
İhtiyaç sahiplerine,
The zakah, giving zakah is dedicated to the needy,
onu verene Allah bereket verir, hayır verir.
and those who thus give zakah will receive in return blessings and benefit,
Sevap verir.
and will obtain rewards,
Cennette makamları yükselir.
and will increase their stations in the hereafter in paradise.
Vermeyene de Allah'ın gazabı ener.
Those who do not give zakah must know that the wrath of Allah Almighty is upon them,
Allah ondan razı olmaz.
and Allah Almighty will not be satisfied with those who do not give zakah.
Allah razı olmadıktan sonra hiçbir şeyin faydası olmaz.
And if Allah Almighty is not satisfied with you, then there will be no use and no benefit and no blessing in anything.
Onun için gene hatırlatıyoruz.
Therefore, this is a reminder again.
Zekat dediği hiç de o kadar, yani bütün insanlar zekat verse,
And the amount of zakah, it's not that much. And if the entire world gave the zakah that is due,
zaten vergiye de gerek yok. Bu
then there would even be no need to pay taxes.
devletin aldığı, hala küfür devletlerin %80, %70 kadar
Countries claim taxes, and in non-Muslim countries, there are taxes raised up to 80%, 70%.
vergi alıyorlar. Bizimkiler de gene alıyor epeyce ama gene de bir bereket olmuyor, bir şey olmuyor. Gene
And here also taxes are raised in a high amount. But even though taxes are raised and people give so much, there is no blessing, there is no benefit.
eksik, gene eksik.
And people still lack, and countries still lack, and they run short.
Daha fazla istiyorlar.
And they claim and raise even more.
Allah Azze ve Celle'nin insanların çekebilecekleri kadar %2,5 dedi.
And Allah Almighty only expects as much as people can carry. It's just 2.5%.
Çok az ama
The amount of zakah is just minor.
çok bereketlidir. Yani
But there are huge blessings in that small amount.
onun insanlar verse kimse fakir kalmaz.
If people gave that small portion, there would be no poor left.
Ama şeytana uyup
But people follow shaitan,
bir şey kazanıyoruz diye
and they think they would be gaining something by doing so.
hilelerden, ya hiç aklına gelmiyor, ne gerek var benim bu kadar para çoğaldıkça da
And then they are fooled by shaitan by so many tricks and traps, and they avoid giving zakah, and they ask, why should I give?
daha fazla cimrileşiyor, daha fazla şey.
And it's curious that the wealthier people become, the stingier they become.
1 milyon olunca hadi 25 bin lira verdim diyor.
If they have a million, they say, I gave 25,000.
O şey yapıyor, çoktur diyor ama
And then they say, I gave a lot.
10 milyon olunca
If they have 10 million,
250 bin lira vereceğim diyor.
they say, I will give 250,000.
Ne kadar? 100 milyon olunca 2,5 milyon vereceğim diyor.
If they have 100 million, they say, I give 2.5 million.
Yani vereceği meblağ çoğalınca halbuki düşünmüyor ki ben bu kadar param daha fazla oldu diye.
Their wealth and their money increases, and yet they always try to calculate the smallest amount possible. And even though what they have obtained, the wealth has become so much, they only dedicate a small portion of it.
Onu düşünmüyor, verdiğini düşünüyor. Yani o ufak şeyi düşünüyor, büyük şeyi düşünmüyor.
They do not realize how much wealth they have accumulated, and all they focus on is the small portion they will give.
İşte Allah muhafaza etsin.
May Allah Almighty protect us.
Allah aklımızı doğru yolda kullanmayı nasip etsin.
And may Allah Almighty enable us and bless us to be able to use our minds and understanding on the good way, right way.
Akıl var ama doğru yolda kullanmak mühim olandır.
People have a mind and they have an understanding, but what's important is to use it on the good and right way.
Allah hayırlarımızı kabul etsin.
May Allah Almighty accept our good deeds.
Verdiklerimize bereket versin.
And may Allah Almighty bless what we gave for the sake of Allah Almighty.
İnşallah Allah kabul etsin.
And may Allah Almighty accept it.
Yapanlardan inşallah.
And may Allah Almighty accept what those who gave it for His sake.
ومن الله التوفيق. الفاتحة.